Welcome back to the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. Well, welcome back. I'm Ernest. This is the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel, and today we've got a pretty awesome video. You'll already have known it from the thumbnail in the description, but I recently stumbled across what I think is going to be a pretty good deal for my wife to get a new vehicle. Not that there's anything wrong with her old vehicle. It's a Hyundai Accent, sitting right over there. It runs good. It's not the prettiest thing, but it's super reliable. And the only issue we have with it is just the amount of space in there. We've got a 2-year-old and a newborn, as most of you probably know. And so we're looking for something a little bit bigger. Well, I've come across a good deal. I think what I'm going to do today is go up there and try and get it running and drive it back home and surprise my wife with her new vehicle. So it's going to take a few probably episodes to get all the little wrinkles ironed out, but today the goal is to get it running and get it back home. So we'll see if that's possible. I think it's actually a bit easier to get running than it may appear. So we'll head up there and get it going. All right, well, we just got here. I'll give you the first look here in a minute. I'm gonna take some tools with me that we're gonna need. It's got a couple of flat tires, so I've got this little pump that I keep in my wife's car. If I can't get it started, or just to fill up the tires first, I've got this battery that I have that's okay. I charge it up, and I've got this little adapter to run this pump, so I can fill up one of the tires. The one on the corner that was crashed is like completely bent on the rim, but the spare tire is in great shape. All the tires are in bad shape. The airbags went off, and there's some damage to that front corner. We'll go over there and take a look at it. I'm just gonna grab some tools and see you over there. All right, here we are, Roadside Rescue crew. Here's our awesome new vehicle for my wife. I think this looks a bit worse than it is. It looks like, so this car hit another car that was parked on the street, just in a weird turn of events, and it looks like everything's probably okay under here. Upper ball joints there. There's the upper control arm, or the spindle knuckle. There's the lower control arm. Nothing looks really bent. That lower control arm may be bent, but I think what I'm going to do is just replace the tie rods right now, and then see how it drives. If it's pulling, squealing, then I'll, or if it looks real bent, that lower control arm, then I'll look at replacing that. But I think for right now, we'll get those tie rods on, and it's probably good to go. It's got this quarter panel damage and this front light damage. The bumper's damaged, but I don't know if I'm gonna worry about trying to replace that eventually. But today, the goal is to get this up and running. It's got a flat tire back there. So I've got my pumps, or that pump to fill up the tires. And here we go. So I'm gonna get it jacked up. It's a little bit warm this afternoon. It's been nice and cool, but I decided to wait till the afternoon to do this, and I'm regretting it a little now. But the spare tire is awesome. So this completely destroyed the rim as well. So I'm not gonna reuse this rim. I'll just order one online. It's probably 50, 60 bucks. Get all new tires all around because they're in this shape. But the spare tire is awesome. So I'll just need 4 new tires. I'm gonna keep the spare. Maybe, yeah, I'll just swap those out right now. And the interior is awesome. It does just barely catch here. Not enough to be a big deal, but I'll probably knock that out before I replace it with a little rubber mallet. And yeah, the interior is in great shape. So it's got 217,000 miles on it, Honda B20 B series engine. So I'm pretty excited. All-time all-wheel drive, lots of space. Big thing is space. I mean, space for me driving, passenger, and then in the back seat there's tons of space where my wife's been cramped because she sits with our 2 kids in the back. So then we got a bit of a trunk as well. So we'll get into this and get it running, and I'll let you know how long it takes. Okay, got the jack under there, and we've got our jack stand. Let's get this tire off. So we'll see. We'll look at what's going on here. I can turn this. Maybe more. A little more going on than I thought. Maybe. We should be able to turn this out. Maybe gotta get some pry bars. All right. Yeah, there's that rim that got all bent, so it's not going to be reusable. And maybe I underestimated it. It may be a little bent out of whack here, but I'm going to see if I can straighten this up. It looks like it's pushed backwards though, so if it is, looks like it's coming down to that lower control arm. Oh yeah, I do see it now. That lower control arm's bent, so I'm gonna go ahead and take some stuff apart. I'm gonna get that lower control arm out, and I'm gonna go ahead and call and order one of those. But it looks like that's the only other thing that needs to be replaced. I'll replace that sway bar end link as well, since I'm gonna be taking it loose. But for now, looks like lower control arm and tie rod switch completely snapped. But that may just be, no, that's gonna be the inner and the outer. Oh well, that's okay, we'll replace those. I've got both inner and outer, and I'm gonna see if I can get that lower control arm up here quickly. All right, yeah, it makes sense now that I'm looking at it with the tire off that that's definitely bent. I underestimated that one, but it's not that big of a deal. It was 70 something bucks, and it'll be here in about 2 hours. So I'm gonna take everything apart, get everything put back together that I can, and then I'll install that lower control arm and sway bar end link in about 2 hours when they get here. So I'm gonna finish getting set up and get this taken apart. Sometimes I don't even worry about those little cotter pins when I'm taking them off. I'll just use this Milwaukee to blow right through them. Gotta go up higher though. Bingo. All right, and just a couple of light taps on this pickle fork. Got our bottom ball joint separated. I'm not gonna worry about replacing that now, but I'll probably buy new suspension stuff a little further down the road for this vehicle in general. So I'm gonna pop this knuckle out, just kind of look at that axle, make sure it's okay. Oh, we've got some busted up axle stuff up there. Probably needs a new axle too, we'll see. I mean, it's all there. I may drive it home on this axle and then figure it out. We'll see. All right, cool. I just got off the phone with my friend at AutoZone, and they have the axle in stock. So all I'm waiting on is that control arm, which is coming from the main hub. It'll be here in a couple of hours. And at the same time, I'm gonna get that outer end link for that sway bar and a new axle. So I'm gonna spend a few minutes here pulling that axle and that lower control arm, and then everything will be ready to go. And I'll just leave whatever tools I used out here. I'll take my big truck back, and then I'll come back with my wife, throw stuff together real quick, and drive it home. All right, there's that end link out of there. I gotta get the other side, but that control arm should be able to drop out now, at least since it's disconnected down there. Again, I'll just get that ball joint later, but it had grease in it. That's good. The boot was still there. And we'll get this control arm out, which is a pretty simple design. And then we'll that'll be easy to get up there on that inner tie rod with that out of the way. All right, we'll get the bolt out of this side of the control arm. We've got a few bolts holding a bracket on that side of the control arm, and it's ready to come out after that. Then we'll do the axle and those tie rods. All right, I've got that tire in the back inflating right now. One, because I've got a bit of time, so I'm gonna check it for leaks. And two, just because I have it jacked up so high here in the front that the back tire was off the ground just a little. So I want it to be touching just to be safe, since I'm about to crawl under there and start yanking on that lower control arm. So I'm gonna wait a few minutes. That thing's actually pretty fast, probably just another minute or two. and then I'll crawl back under there and get that lower control arm out, but all the bolts are loose. All right, that worked like a charm. I think I've been here for probably almost an hour, but I'm not rushing anything. So here's what I did. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I have this battery. You just clamp that battery onto here, and there's a little 12-volt cigarette lighter outlet. They can get 𝐸𝐸𝐴. It's the same brand of my booster pack I've been using. And I just have that little, plug it into a cigarette lighter. Tire pump works pretty good for one tire. Doing all four takes a while because you got to let it cool down, but works great. So I'm gonna get under here now and start yanking on that lower control arm and get it out. Then I'll get the axle. Take off the axle next, just to make a little bit more room to wiggle stuff around in there. Since it is bent a little, it's just being a little frustrating, so I figured I'll just make it easy and remove the axle first. Bingo. Okay, so I just got the sway bar end link out. Just gonna completely replace that now. I should be able to just get this control arm out of there. I'm gonna focus on this for a minute, and then we'll do this inner tie rod, and then I've got to do this ball on the outer tie rod here. The other part's probably on the street, wherever this got in the accident at. All right, so all it took was just a hair prying on that, and it's out. And now we'll focus on that inner tie rod, but this I just had to pry out on this side. The far side there was already all loose. So inner tie rod, and then we'll be ready to go back together. Oh, an outer tie rod ball. All right, I just got the outer ball off. You can actually see how bent it is. I mean, it obviously took the brunt of the impact, so hopefully the rack and pinion isn't messed up. It shouldn't be, but you know, hopefully not. Oh, I forgot, I'm still gonna have to get that axle out and show you the cool tool to do that with. But now I'm just focused on these last two things. We'll see what time it is, and then we'll go grab our other parts if it's close to 4:30. And yeah, anyways, took a lot of the impact. That's why it just completely snapped there. Yeah, here we go. We'll pull that out and get going on this. So fortunately, this was just tied up with zip ties because they're way easier to take off than those little alligator clip things. It's got a little drain thing right here. Oh, well, at least the boot will be coming out. I can reattach that. These are pinchable by finger usually. I figured I could just pull it out and whatever. I don't know what that little drain's for. Maybe for any sort of fluid that gets in there, but it looks dry. It is dry, so that's good news. We'll push this boot off. There's another zip tie up here, and then we'll remove the inner tie rod right up here. Awesome. It looks like it's not bent, that shaft in the rack and pinion. Fingers crossed. All right, so I've got this inner tie rod removing tool. Since it's broken, it's easier to use on this one. Basically, you just tighten it down, and then that'll help you break it loose. All right, so that's biting pretty well. Now all I have to do is take my ratchet, put it in there, and break it loose. There it goes. Okay, now I can loosen that off, and it should come off by hand or with some pliers since it's broken loose now. All right, so that came out, and yeah, it doesn't look like that shaft's bent, so that's good. So I just verified by turning that wheel all the way in and out that it is not bent. That's great news. So we'll put the new inner and outer on, and then we'll hop down to AutoZone and grab the lower control arm, sway bar and link, and axle, and this will be ready to drive home. That's how you do a roadside rescue for your own. This is going to be a car for my wife, so I'm excited to see. It's a bit of a surprise for her, how she likes it. All right, I haven't gotten to that axle yet, but I am going to put this inner tie rod on real quick and get that boot on, and then I'll worry about the axle. Not because it doesn't matter which one happens. There's no order right now, and I was already fixated on this inner tie rod, so we'll get it tightened down real quick. Yeah, nice and tight. And now we'll do that boot, and we'll put this grease on. We got to put this grease on in there, and then I've got to guesstimate how close this is to being straight. Probably usually like 13 to 16 turns is what I usually see on every every vehicle. So I'll put the outer on and then I'll spin it around in like probably 14 complete circles. The point I'm getting to is not that big of a deal because I'm getting new tires. So yeah, we'll take this off, grease it up, put the boot back on with some zip ties, and then we'll remove that axle there. All right, so we've got this greased up and the new boot is going on. Perfect. Now I've got to tighten those zip ties down. All right, that's hooked back up. That boot and that little, it is like a little drain plug or something. I don't know where it goes, but I had it extended out all the way, so it wasn't hard, but it wasn't the easiest way to do it. Would be to shorten it up so you don't have to fight with that boot a little bit. But it's in, and we'll get the outer on, and then we'll get that axle out and make our parts run. All right, so I just picked up that control arm, some transmission fluid, that axle. We're gonna head up there in the little truck since I've got all my tools up there, and I'll just return with them in here. Here we go. We'll head back up there. It should be done in about an hour. All right, here we are. It's showtime. We'll get this back together. Probably about 45 minutes to an hour, and then this will be ready to go assuming it starts. I've got a jump pack, and probably got old gas, but it should start if everything else works. So here we go. Well, I was just gonna pull that axle out before I left. I actually popped it loose and some transmission fluid came out. So I'm gonna jack this side up real high to try and prevent that from happening again. And then I'm gonna pop it, but I'm gonna have the other axle ready to go in super fast as soon as that comes out. So jack it up. All right, for some reason that made it drip already anyway, so I'm just gonna pop this loose real quick. Probably because I never put this all the way back in. So, oh man, that's a lot of fluid in there. I don't know how much I lost. All right, that should be back in. All the way, and I'll put this axle in the spindle here, and then we'll get that outer tie rod on, lower control arm, sway bar and link, and we'll be done. All right, that's torqued down, and we've got that in well. Lower control arm time, sway bar and links maybe first. No, they go to the control arm. I'm gonna put the outer link on this sway bar first, since that was a little bit hard to get off with that control arm in the way, and then I'll put the control arm on. But it's been 5 minutes, we're ready to go. I did get some more transmission fluid because I knew some would leak out. I guess I didn't push it all the way back in before I left, so I don't know how much leaked out because I had some fluid already sitting in that pan, so I'm gonna have to measure up top, I guess. But I bought 2 quarts, hopefully that's enough. All right, I've just got this lower control arm in place, so I can put that bolt through it. Went in fairly easy. All right, that bolt started. We'll make sure it lines up straight and run it down. That bolt's going in nice and easy. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down until I get the bushing on that other side and its bracket up. Then I'll swing this up and put the strut and the sway bar link through it, and then I'll tighten everything down together. Oh, also this ball joint there. And then it's pretty much ready. I've got to top off the transmission. I'm going to check all the fluids and then get it running. All right, now I've gotten everything on this side tightened down. The bushing, the end of the bushing there, well, it's not tightened down. I mean, I've started it all by hand. So now I've got to put the impact on here, drive all those down, and then I'm going to start tightening everything up. Everything's in place except for that outer tie rod. Then I'll throw the tire on there, fill up the transmission fluid, check everything else, and we'll be done. That's a little repetitive, but we're getting close over here. All right, tightening up the sway bar end links here is the last thing other than that tie rod. We've got the control arm tightened on the ball joint on both ends up there. Nothing else is bent out of place. All right, so that's nice and tight. We'll get that tie rod on. Again, probably about 14 turns. It's gonna get in alignment in the next couple of days anyways. And then we'll put that tire on and get it started. Check on that, nothing too exciting about it. Just double, triple checking everything. Everything's tight. We'll get the spare and put it on. All right, the tire's on. Let's get the weight off this jack stand. And drop her down. Whew. It's quite a mess out here, all my tools. Little pokey grasses I'm laying on, but we'll pop the hood, check the fluids. I know, again, transmission for sure. We'll check the oil and the power steering and the coolant and everything, brake fluid, make sure the brakes work, and you know the drill, get it started. And now I have no idea why they put the dipstick for the transmission way down there behind the air intake. I mean, obviously they did it for a reason. I don't know that reason, so I'm gonna pull a little bit of this intake and reach down back there. All right, that started up like it was nothing. I'm gonna let it get warm, check that transmission fluid again. I estimated it was probably about half a quart, so I put that in, and it looks okay on the dipstick already. But you know, it's got to be warm and running. And all the other fluids look fine. There's no lights on the dash except the airbag and the ABS. And make sure that alternator's working, it's working. Yeah, everything's good. It started up like a charm, so we'll let it run here for a moment more and then check the rest of those fluids. So ABS, so I'm gonna check those brakes real well before I drive off. And no other lights, so looks good. I'll tell you what though, on the pokey grass, this was a lifesaver, so thank you to whoever sent this in. We'll get packed up, cleaned up, and finished up here. That's a job well done. Thanks for watching. This is the Roadside Rescue YouTube channel. I'm Ernest. Here's my wife's new vehicle. Pretty proud of it, and should be good. I'll keep you updated on how it goes. We're gonna replace that fender, maybe the bumper, maybe. Well, we'll get this home tonight. I got the title. I'm insured, and shouldn't be an issue. Doesn't need new registration, but thanks for watching. Consider subscribing, becoming a channel member. We'll see you on the next episode. Well, it's definitely pulling to the right, but I must have put that tie rod on a little too many turns. Other than that, it's driving good. The ABS light went off, so we just have the airbag light, and I forgot about the seat belts being locked up. Luckily, the driver was just my size. That car was not supposed to go before me. Luckily, the driver was just my size, so it's not a big deal, but I'll have to replace the seat belts as well. I cut this airbag out with some dikes just to get it out of the way. That one's still in, but I'll probably replace these airbags and the seat belts and get new tires, that quarter panel on the bumper, and that's, oh, this windshield's cracked too. But other than that, I mean, this car is great. I like it. The windows are tinted. It's the first vehicle I've ever had with tinted windows, so yeah, it's cool. Nice. Let's see if the AC works. Yeah, it feels nice and cool, so that's good that AC works. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.